My name is Cedric Hendricks, and I'm pleased to once again serve as the executive producer for the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual Jazz Issue Forum and Concert, which is hosted by our chairman, the Honorable John Conyers, Jr. Let's give him a hand. For 24 years, Congressman Conyers has made it possible for us to give serious attention to this music within the framework of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference. And over that period, we have had many, many legendary artists with us to perform. We've had Dizzy Gillespie, we've had Lionel Hampton, and we have accomplished something that is truly significant. The congressman is a legislator, and out of the very first issue forum back in 1985 emerged a call to introduce a bill for jazz. And in 1987, the Congress passed House Concurrent Resolution 57, which proclaimed jazz to be a rare and valuable national American treasure. And for that accomplishment, let's give the congressman another round of applause. Now, an event like this takes a lot of work and requires a lot of support. There are people like Bill Brower right here, who has been a partner, our producer in this event for years, and also a partner and our anchor sponsor has been ASCAP. And I want to bring to the stage to share the podium with me, Esther Sansoris from ASCAP. Esther.
Thank you, Cedric. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're ready for a really, really exciting evening. It's going to be really nice. My name is Esther Sansoris from ASCAP, and on behalf of myself and everyone at ASCAP, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 24th Annual Jazz Issue Forum and Concert, hosted by the Honorable John Conyers, Jr. We have been a long-time supporter of this great event, and we're very happy to be back here again this year. And we're in for a huge treat. I'd like to also introduce my colleague who also helped to make this event happen from ASCAP's Legislative Department in New York, Adrian Ross.
Thank you, Esther. ASCAP is very proud to be part of this wonderful evening. And again, we'd like to thank the Honorable John Conyers, Jr. for his commitment and dedication to jazz and for helping to preserve this invaluable art form. So once again, for the Congressman, please, John Conyers. This evening, we're very fortunate to have ASCAP member Jimmy Cobb leading his acclaimed all-star So What band. In addition, we have ASCAP member Herlin Riley, who will be joining the Satchmo Armstrong Summer Jazz Camp Alumni All-Stars. That's a mouthful. Thank you once again for being here and enjoying the show.
Okay. And now I'd like to introduce to you Mr. David Goodfriend, and he serves as Government Affairs Consultant for the Dish Network, one of the new title sponsors for tonight's evening. So would you please welcome him for a few words as well? Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? Good, fine. You know, like you, I grew up with jazz, and I love jazz, and I played it as a kid. And I think we all can agree that the one attribute you really need to have to appreciate this art form is the ability to listen. Jazz is not in your face. Jazz is not pounding away at you. Jazz is inviting you in. You have to listen carefully to really appreciate it. And we're honoring, of course, a great legislator this evening, Chairman John Conyers, who is himself a great jazz fan and a great listener. He will listen, he will act. He is truly a gift to our country. And we at Dish Network would just like to say thank you to Chairman John Conyers. Thanks very much.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat that I think you're going to enjoy. We have some young musicians who are going to set up our panel with a musical tribute to the First Lady.
y'all doing? Everybody doing okay? You guys look good. How y'all doing? Y'all look real good tonight. Y'all boys?
All right. Okay, I go by the name of Jalil, y'all. How y'all doing tonight?
How y'all doing? I'm Dreek.
Oh, how y'all doing? I'm Christian.
How y'all doing? I go by the name of Desi. Well, what we about to do for y'all, we're going to do a song that we wrote for the First Lady, Miss Michelle Obama. And it's entitled First Lady, but tonight we want to dedicate it to all the First Ladies in the house tonight.
Is that okay? Yes.
All right.
We don't have any music, so we're gonna do an a cappella for y'all. All right.
Y'all ready, fellas?
Strong woman, superwoman, first lady of our time, a hero in our eyes. You gave us hope again, now we know we stand a chance. You lent a helping hand, and now I understand. It's not hard to realize you're an angel in our
Strong
lady,
our First Lady, superwoman in our lives, an angel in disguise. You gave us wings of hope, and now it saves a fly. I know it might be hard sometimes for you to carry on, but through it all, you remain so strong. And you know they always said, beside a strong man, there's a strong woman standing there, who without you, he wouldn't be here. And now you're standing hand in hand. Yeah, we can't handle things on our own, and you're there to push us through. Oh, I thank you for believing in me. Oh, First Lady, we love you.
First lady, what a lady, you should know that.
First Lady, we love
Woman, superwoman, you should know that.
First Lady, we love
First lady, what a lady, you should know that.
First Lady, we love
Strong
you.
woman, superwoman, you should know that. Oh, yeah.
There are times,
I can't do
and there are times when you push us through. Yeah. You said you believe in me.
Oh, First Lady,
We love you. Wait. Whoa, yeah. First Lady,
First Lady,
First Lady, we love you. Yeah. Come on, put your hands together. Come on. Thank you for giving me hope. Oh, yeah.
First Lady,
yeah.
what you do is true. We love you, our First Lady.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, gentlemen. And now I'd like to bring to the stage for some brief remarks Mr. Fred Niehaus of Western Union, one of our key sponsors this year.
Good evening. On behalf of Western Union, obviously we'd like to welcome everybody here for this evening's discussion and concert. It's going to be educational, it's going to be insightful, and most important, this is going to be entertaining tonight. I want to thank Congressman Conyers for everything he does for this organization, for the jazz industry, and historically, but most importantly, for the continuous work he's done to preserve jazz as a national treasure. You think about the future generations. It's really important for our kids to understand some of these foundational issues, some of these foundational arts. And for that, again, I thank the Congressman for helping. And you may wonder why we're here at Western Union. You probably haven't seen us here too many times. But you know, one of the things that we are very much committed to is empowerment, financial empowerment. And you see a lot of the things that we are involved in around this country deal with financial literacy. They deal with entrepreneurship. And one of the tools that we have been working on for years is to develop a national Black information clearinghouse, which is about entrepreneurism and how to be successful in business. We believe that these are the foundations of success. So that's why we're here. And we like jazz. So I want to thank the panelists, the distinguished panelists. And, you know, I would be remiss to say, you know, Jimmy Cobb, what can you say? A living legend. So tonight is going to be a big night. Thank you for letting us be here.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to the stage our chairman. Congressman John Conyers represents the 14th Congressional District of Michigan, and I'm proud to say that's where my hometown is. And I grew up in the Congressman's district, had the opportunity to work for him, and came to appreciate jazz very deeply during that period. Chairman Conyers is the ranking, well, he's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He's also the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus, and many of you may also know that he is the second senior member of the U.S. House of Representatives. He's been the architect of this jazz issue forum and concert, and we're, I think, all in his debt, and please give him a strong round of applause.
Good evening, everyone, brothers and sisters, jazz appreciators, would-be musicians. What a pleasure to see you all. Here we are again at another Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Jazz Forum. This has become a mainstay, and we're delighted to see so many people out. We're adding tables now, and if it were up to me, I would have refreshments served to everybody, compliments of the foundation, which would get their license removed immediately. So unfortunately, I can't do that. Let's start off by thanking all of the great people that have helped sponsor us. Fred Niehaus, Western Union, David Goodfriend, Dish Network, and I mean, these folks really, give them another round of applause. They gave so much money that we can't publicly announce how much it was. And then we have our usual mainstays. Attorney Cedric Hendricks, Bill Brower, Dan Moore, Esther Sansaras, and Adrian Ross, both from ASCAP. Give all of them another round of applause. We've got so much music that all I want to say is that it is really nice from our perspective that the First Lady has now brought jazz into the White House through her International Association of Jazz, June 15th. She calls it the White House Music Studio, devoted to jazz. That's so nice. And the whole thing about number 44 is nice, isn't it? I mean, you go by there and there's Stevie Wonder, you know, roaming around in the White House like he always used to roam around in the White House. It's just so fabulous. And of course, we've got Larry Ridley and many others here. But I just want to close with this observation. Jazz is an African-American cultural creation that is now celebrated around the world, everywhere. Everybody does it a little bit different, but that's the creative aspect of jazz, isn't it? And so there is developing, and you're going to hear this from the panel. We need to, we're all artists. We're all, well, we're not all artists. We're all frustrated musicians, aren't we? I mean, is there anybody here that doesn't have any instrument that they would like to play if they could play it? And there are some that have played it. Take me, for example. No, wait, now that I think about it, musically, don't take me, for example. But what we're doing is there will be some bold discussion this evening about how we celebrate the music by learning it a little bit more. And I want to thank in advance Barry Harris, that great jazz pianist originally from Detroit, who's been here many times, now in New York. You know how he has you sing along with him as he does a tune, and he creates it by you giving him numbers, and he assigns chord changes to it, and pretty soon we're off all collectively. Well, that's being developed more. And so it's so good to see our old friends here. There are people that have been coming here for years. I'd ask you to raise your hands, but I don't want to reveal your age or your... Oh, Curtis Collins, she's been coming here. She was coming here before me. Former Congresswoman Curtis Collins of Chicago is with us. Dear, she is... In Chicago, they are serious. Jazz is a very serious piece of culture in Chicago. And so as I look around the room, I see so many friends here. It's so great to be with you. But there's a little discussion and a lot of music coming on tonight. So I thank you very much for coming out. You make this part of our 39th Congressional Black Caucus event a thrilling success. Thank you all very much. Please enjoy the evening.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to the stage the moderator of our panel, and that is Mr. Willard Jenkins. And we are honored to have Willard back with us. He served as moderator many times in the past. Willard is well known as a writer and producer. He's also a host on WPFW Radio, which I might say is broadcasting the evening's program live to its listening audience, and I'm sure on the web around the world. So let's give WPFW a hand. We couldn't do this without them. And let me just say also, as I leave the stage, Willard is also the director of Open Sky Jazz. Willard.
Well, good evening, everyone. I said good evening, everyone. I know y'all can do better than that. Welcome to the Congressional Black Caucus Annual Jazz Issues Forum, which precedes what will be a great night of music with some hopefully stimulating dialogue.
Doing it through.
As Congressman Conyers mentioned in his remarks, The theme of this evening's panel discussion is related to, or is actually inspired by, First Lady Michelle Obama's jazz event at the White House on June 15th, when she welcomed 150 jazz students to the White House, along with great master teachers. At the time, her welcoming remarks emphasized the fact that she had been inspired as a child with the greatness and importance of jazz music because it was a constant presence in her home when she was growing up, played religiously by her parents, as was the case with many of us, I'm sure. We know that there are literally legions of youngsters in this country who are learning to play this music all over the country. Although opportunities are certainly not as prevalent for any inner city youngsters, there are still instances where even city kids who wish to learn to play this music have that opportunity, including wonderful examples right here in Washington, D.C. Now, when we teach these youngsters how to play, one of the lofty goals of that is that we know that only a certain tiny percentage of them may become professional musicians. So the hope is that the rest of them will gain an appreciation for the music and become our core audience. However, there are zero to very limited opportunities for youngsters who are not striving to play music to learn or know anything at all about jazz music. So actually, we're doing very little to stimulate future jazz consumers, our future jazz audience, to develop our jazz audience. A recent study of arts audiences undertaken by the National Endowment for the Arts was very revealing of the aging arts consumer audience, a factor the study found particularly acute where it concerns the jazz audience. The fact remains that we are in critical need of new and innovative thinking beyond simply taking a jazz ensemble into an inner city school for once-in-a-blue-moon performance before a group of bored, confused students. We need to collectively do much more to further develop the audience for jazz music. And there are a lot of different ways we can go about doing that. I'll give you an example of something I heard recently on WPFW. There was a news item about an event here in Washington called Raising the Roof, which was being presented by an organization whose name, I believe, is Mommy's TLC, and the mission of which, in brief, is positively impacting DC youth. The interview detailed one of their recent activities in which they were partnering with the Hip Hop Caucus, which caused me to ask myself, why aren't we in the jazz community out front interacting with youth organizations in a similar manner? We've assembled a stellar panel of musicians, educators, and arts administrators to explore the critical issue of jazz audience development and of bringing this music to our communities. The gentleman on the far end is Mr. Wayne Brown. Wayne is the Director of Music and Opera at the National Endowment for the Arts. He serves as the agency's policy advisor for music and opera and administers an annual appropriation of approximately $12 million. Jazz received approximately $1 million. He is the project director for the Nea Jazz initiative. The Nea Jazz Masters, the nation's highest honor for jazz. And Wayne is a gentleman who was one of Congressman Conyers' constituents as well. On behalf of the NEA, Wayne commissioned a study on the work life of jazz musicians titled Changing the Beat. To my immediate right is Ms. Jackie Harris, and you're going to see some of the fruits of Jackie Harris's labors a little bit later on. But Jackie is the former night concerts producer of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. She served as executive director of the Music and Entertainment Commission of New Orleans for 8 years during the administration of Mayor Mark Morial. And Jackie Harris and Mark Morial founded the Louis Satchmo Armstrong Summer Jazz Camp. She's a freelance producer and continues to serve as producer and Executive Director of the Jazz Camp. Seated next to Jackie Harris is a distinguished musician, Dr. Larry Ridley. Larry Ridley is the leader of the Jazz Legacy Ensemble, and his recording career is just stellar. He has recorded and performed with musicians ranging from Sonny Rollins, Thelonious Monk, Dizzy Gillespie, Jackie McLean, Randy Weston, Roy Haynes, Philly Joe Jones, Oscar Peterson, Carmen McRae, Freddie Hubbard. Larry Ridley has performed with all of these giants of this music. Larry is Professor Emeritus at Rutgers State University of New Jersey, and he's the architect of the Jazz Performance degree programs there. He's also been a professor at Manhattan School of Music and jazz artist in residence at the Schoenberg Center for Research in Black Culture in New York, and he's the executive director of the African American Jazz Caucus and co-director of the North Carolina Central University AAJC Jazz Research Institute. Seated next to Larry is Mr. Warren Shad. Warren Shad is a second-generation piano technician and third-generation musician. He is a drummer, and from high school through Howard University, Warren performed with many giants, including Nancy Wilson and James Moody, Ben Vereen, Nell Carter, Lionel Hampton, and Shirley Horn, who happens to be his aunt. Warren Shad is a piano technician, and he has tuned or rebuilt pianos for many notable performers. But one of the things I want you to take note about Warren Shad is that Warren Shad is the inventor of a new line of innovative pianos under his namesake, Shad. Warren Shad is, point of fact, now I want you to get this, Warren Shad is, point of fact, the first African-American piano manufacturer in history. And seated next to Warren Shad is a gentleman who needs no introduction. He is one of our distinguished musicians. He is a National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Master. He is a pianist, a composer. He's been a broadcaster. He was the first African-American band leader on network television. He is also artistic advisor to the wonderful jazz program at the Kennedy Center. Please welcome Dr. Billy Taylor. I want to begin by asking each of our panelists a question related to the subject matter at hand. We'll start with you, Wayne. Given the National Endowment for the Arts' recent audience study and the relative firestorm that the results have caused, as well as the potential impact the endowment might have on future White House jazz initiatives as a governmental agency, what hopeful efforts are underway from the National Endowment for the Arts that might successfully impact jazz audience development among our youth?
Bullard, before responding specifically to that last point, let me add my thanks to Congressman Conyers and all of those who played such a significant role in today's session. This has given me an opportunity to focus on a portion of my portfolio, being jazz, that keeps me linked to my early years in Detroit. I'm a product of the Detroit Public Schools, the University of Michigan, and indeed my fascination with arts administration began in Detroit, where I served as the assistant manager of the Detroit Symphony. I was a resident of Detroit for over 20 years, and no matter where I've lived since that time, John Conyers will always be my congressman. His love for jazz has been known for years, and his unyielding enthusiasm for America's music is a significant factor behind the interest and the audience that jazz continues to attract. There's a Detroit factor, in my view, which speaks in part to your question. And the most recent of that can be found in Detroit itself, through the remarkable story of the Detroit Jazz Festival, one of the most recent success stories coming out of the Motor City. Through a program created and sponsored by the Arts Endowment Jazz Live, a program, Willard, that you play a principal role, a residency and regional touring initiative designed to support leading jazz festivals throughout the nation, resulted in your being able to cover and capture highlights of the Detroit Jazz Festival within the last couple of years. The festival, which serves as Detroit's Hall of Fame for jazz, was on the brink of extinction just a few years ago. Now, a long-term jazz fan made a commitment to preserve Detroit's devotion to jazz through a multi-million-dollar gift and recruitment of top jazz administrator to turn things around. And they have, including the recent announcement of the creation of the Detroit Jazz Orchestra, which made its debut in the most recent festival in honor of the great jazz legends who have come out of the city of Detroit with enthusiastic and incredible response. I reference the Detroit story for another reason. It's a fitting example of the determination that exists when those who remain passionate and determined about the art form are able to take steps and focus on those who are local-minded individuals who are willing to step forward in order to achieve a sustainable future. I want to reference one other program in particular with regard to the issue of audience. Certainly since 2004, the Arts Endowment launched an NEA Jazz initiative. It includes the NEA Jazz Masters, of which there are now 114. It includes NEA Jazz Masters Live, as I referenced earlier, which incorporates 12 venues throughout the region, all designed to reach new audiences. It involves a series of both radio and television programs that have occurred over the last 4.5 years through BET Jazz, through NPR Jazz Profiles, through Jazz Legends with Ramsey Lewis. The next round in 2010 will include National Public Radio broadcasts and on NWBGO out of New Jersey. But there's one fundamental program that I think resonates in such a significant way, and that's a program called NEA Jazz in the Schools. It is a 5-part series designed for history teachers, not for music teachers, but for history teachers, to learn about America and to learn about jazz concurrently. In other words, it's the history of America through jazz. And to date, that has reached over 8.4 million youngsters. It's on the web. It's known as NEA Jazz in the Schools. And it occurs to me that as we think about the need to continue to invest in attracting new audiences, to couple the effort that's underway with the schools, there's likely that the same valuable resource can be used to tell America's story. And so there's greater appreciation for jazz in this country by taking advantage of some of the resources that are currently readily available.
Jackie Harris, your Louis Armstrong Summer Jazz Camp in New Orleans is a sterling example of a grassroots jazz education program that is effectively training young aspiring musicians in the New Orleans community. How can we translate such efforts as yours to successfully impact our youth who may not necessarily wish to play music, but who will potentially be fans and consumers and audience for this music?
Well, I too would like to thank the Congressman for hosting this most important event. And I must say, this looks just like the bandstand, doesn't it? There's one woman and 4 men.
If that, right.
Before answering the question, I would also like to acknowledge Norma Miller, who is here. She's a faculty member of the jazz camp. Norma, I think, made 90 years old. She's queen of swing from Harlem, and she teaches at the camp. Norma, stand, please. And in my response, I'm going to talk about advocacy and support. And I'd also like the members of the Louis Armstrong Jazz Camp Board who are here, traveled especially here to support the young people. Would you please stand? Thank you. Now, in responding to that question, Willard, I must say that music education, I feel, is most important to support audiences for jazz. What you will see tonight with the young people performing is a small percentage of the students that come through the program. We host 100 kids each year. We've been doing it for 15 years, so if you do the math, that's 1,500 students that have been exposed to jazz music. I would say of the 100 children that participate in the program, the parent is probably responsible for 85 of them being there. You know, when our kids range from age 10 to 20 years old. So what that means is parents must enroll their kids in arts education. Now, when we were coming up, there was all sorts of music education programs in schools. There were drama clubs and different types of activities that young people could be involved in. That doesn't exist anymore in the public school systems. New York is a fortunate city in that there are a number of programs. But in other cities, parents need advocates. Just imagine if this was a situation where the public school system had taken the arts education or the music education out of the system, and all of you went down to the next meeting of that school system and advocated for arts education or music education on behalf of those students. And I think in order for the systems to really put the same value on music education and arts education for our children, we have to become advocates. It's okay if you don't have a child in school, but you know the importance and what arts education in a child's life does. Some of them we get for 2 or 3 years. We lose them to football and other activities, but at the same time, these kids spent time in this program. They developed the discipline necessary to excel in other areas of study. And I really think the biggest thing that we could do as supporters and lovers of jazz music is to advocate on behalf of parents, because some parents will and some won't. But it takes a village. We've been talking about that for years. Well, you know, that's how it was done for us, and we have to put the same priority on supporting our children in arts education as we do for other things.
So it's your suggestion that we've been entirely too passive when these massive cuts have been undertaken of arts and culture programs in our schools?
Definitely.
Larry Ridley, the African American Jazz Caucus, which was developed under the aegis of the late lamented International Association for Jazz Education, the AAJC has worked closely with the historically black colleges and universities on a number of fronts and a number of initiatives, and has presented numerous public programs. In your travels and communications with African American jazz educators, what efforts have you witnessed that might successfully impact our youth who may not desire to play this music, but who could potentially be future audience for jazz music?
Well, Willard, I'd like to preface my answer to that question, because back in 1978, Congressman Conyers, along with Reverend Dr. Billy Taylor when he was on the National Council of the Arts. Billy was involved with creating a program at the endowment called the Jazz Artisan Schools. And it was set up so that we were working with the various states. And I was a national coordinator from 1978 until 82, where we had actual performing artists to go into the schools and work with students. And we had it in 15 states. And at that point, it was supposed to have been expanded. Congressman Conyers worked very closely with me, and it was a brainchild of Dr. Billy Taylor. You remember that, right, Billy? Yeah, you and Gunther also. Gunther Schuller was on the Council of the Arts, and he helped to champion that along with you, but you were the one that did the initiative on that, and it was quite successful. The unfortunate thing is that that particular program, which had a great deal of promise, was cut in 1982. So one of the things that I have been involved with was that we created in 1977 the what was called then the Black Jazz Music Caucus. We later changed to the African American Jazz Caucus, and we had our own we have our own 501c3 status, and we were an affiliate of the International Association for Jazz Education. And unfortunately, IAJE has demised as of 2008. But in the interim, one of the things that we continued to do, which was an outgrowth of my having been the national coordinator for the Jazz Artisan Schools program, was to begin working with historically black colleges and universities, which has a tremendous amount of talent that has gone pretty much under the radar screen without a lot of people not being aware of the amount of talent. And we can go back and talk about numerous artists like Clifford Brown, who went to Delaware State, various people. Frank Foster went to Oberlin. And there have been a number of artists that I won't take up the time to go into all of it now, but I have a graph with all of these various artists, the Hawkins brothers at Alabama State. So the list goes on.
Benny Golson right here at Howard. Benny Golson right here at Howard.
Benny Golson right here at Howard.
Right.
There are numerous people who came through these ranks. But one of the problems is that the historically black colleges and universities are underfunded when it comes to having the funds to administer and to give money to jazz. And they have some excellent educators at these various institutions. The marching band is the one that gets the bulk of the money in terms of what the college presidents have attached to jazz. So we've got all these great jazz educators who are working at these historically black colleges, but they're underfunded, and they've been turning out talent. So we started guys were coming to me saying, well, what can we do? What can we do? We come to the IAJE conference, and we're seeing most of the bands that are from white institutions, but jazz education started in historically black colleges. They were like the Jubilee Singers. And when football with the NFL came in the 60s, that's when the bulk of the money was put towards the marching band. But since then, we have annually a blind audition with students auditioning from historically black colleges and universities to be a part of a student all-star big band that I conceived back in 2001. And we had our first performance at Long Beach, California with that band. And since then, I'd just like to quickly read a list of the various historically black colleges and universities that have participated by sending students to audition for this band. Alcorn State University in Mississippi, Claflin University, South Carolina, Hampton University in Virginia, Elizabeth City State University in North Carolina, Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, Morehouse College in Georgia, Fayetteville State University in North Carolina, Jackson State University in Mississippi, Texas Southern University in Texas, North Carolina Central University in North Carolina, University of Maryland Eastern Shore in Maryland, Clark Atlanta University in Georgia, South Carolina State University in South Carolina, North Carolina A&T State University in North Carolina, Houston Tillotson in Texas, Virginia State University in Virginia. So, and there are these excellent jazz educators who are working at these schools to try to maintain the legacy of the music, but they are underfunded. So this has become a vehicle that we've been able to implement annually since 2001 to give them the exposure at the International Association for Jazz Educators Conference. We've performed at the Notre Dame Collegiate Jazz Festival 2 years in a row. Also at the Schomburg Center, of which I'm a jazz artist in residence in Harlem. And this coming year, we're going to be performing again at the Schomburg in 2010, and also at Dizzy's Coca-Cola Club at Jazz at Lincoln Center. And the amount of talent that is existing at these schools is sort of under the radar in terms of what people know about jazz at historically black colleges and universities. And we need more funding to keep this going. And we've had students who were not necessarily majoring in music. One young man is a biochemist, and he wrote a thing that in his newspaper in Claflin State University, talking about what a thrill it was for him to be able to become a part of this band, and the excitement of performing in New York and blah, blah, blah. He just ran it all down, and it was really, he said, even though I'm not planning on becoming a professional musician, the opportunity to be a part of this team that was put together was just fantastic, and he'll never forget that. It was a major situation for him.
So you see the impact not only on those who aspire to be musicians, but those who will eventually become jazz audience.
Exactly, exactly. Not everybody's going to become a professional jazz musician, but just having the ability to play the music and be exposed to the aesthetics of the music and being a part of that team. I've always said that jazz is one of the most democratic institutions I've ever participated in, because everybody has a role, and if you let your role down, the whole unit suffers from that. So that's, that's something that we're working very diligently towards promoting, and we need people to become members of the African American Jazz Caucus and to become donors so that we can continue this, because it's really a fantastic program that's producing a lot of great results, not only for the students that participate musically, but on these campuses, because the students come out and support the concerts and things that are going on with these various jazz groups.
Now, Warren Shad, in the development of your pioneering piano company, you've done a lot of research into and taken a keen interest in developing distance learning models. How might you or we as a community successfully impact our non-performing youth with this music, and by design assist in the development of a more robust audience for this music in our community through distance learning?
First, I'd like to say it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. In terms of my piano, it's a piano that introduces distance learning, where students can take piano lessons from any piano teacher in the world in real time. So the piano, the apparatus is on the piano. It has a video cam built in on the piano. There's a 24-inch touchscreen on the front of the piano. It has a scanner that comes out from under the piano. You can scan your music into the computer. It goes up on the screen. On the left, you have another screen here where you can actually see your piano teacher, and your teacher can see you, and so you can take piano lessons from any piano teacher in the world in real time. So if you have Herbie Hancock, thank you. So if you have Herbie Hancock who wants to teach a group of students at Howard University, presently he may charge, say, like 20 grand to come and teach a 1-hour master class, where he can teach 20 students at one time, still get his 20 grand, charging $1,000 to each school. So that makes it more accessible and affordable for each school. But he still gets his 20 grand, and he's only spent his 1 hour. So, and then he can also teach, that was the 10 o'clock class, now he can teach the 12 o'clock class. So now he's made 40 grand in one day. And he's not even there, he's on tour in Japan. So that's one thing. And then also one-on-one students. You can take piano lessons with private teachers anywhere in the world. So if you have a community-based place where kids can go after school programs, they can have a piano there and take piano lessons from any piano teacher in Switzerland and Germany, or take piano lessons from the neighborhood piano teacher. Or even more so, they can rehearse through distance learning with other band members that are not even in the room across the United States or even in their own neighborhoods. So the distance learning thing is a great thing, another great tool of really teaching these kids and bridging them across the world so you can lessen the musical divide. Also, I'd like to, if I can, also speak about about how to get the young generation into this music. And that is, I think that you really, first of all, I think that the music has to be accessible. So the music has to be accessible where young people are via iPods, iPhones, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rhapsody, promo ads, iTunes, and have to be incorporated into mainstream radio on stations that generally play R&B, pop, hip hop, and rock. Because if you're not there, they're not there. So also you have to create music videos and reality TV shows. So just like they have to be on MTV, BET, VH1, you have to have young jazz cats playing this music so that other young cats will say, I like that, that's the image, it's been glamorized, and I want to do that. I want to play the music, or I want to be like them. So therefore, if you have then you have to hire up PR firms, and you say, okay, well, we want to get these young cats on Hollywood Access and Entertainment Tonight. They have to be glamorized. Then you also, there's a friend of mine named Chucky Royal who has a show that he started called America's Hot Musician, but you can't catch a cold. But it's a show with all young cats, jazz and classical cats, in the format of American Idol, and you can catch it. You can see it on YouTube or go to his website. And
but you just said he can't catch a cold.
He can't catch a cold. In other words, he needs funding. Or there's Nick Cannon now has a new network, has a television show, has a television network now. He just announced it today. So there are avenues out there for these young cats to be exposed. And then, like I said, you have to glamorize the music. And also, because, most young people think that if you're trying to, bridge the new people into this music, the images they see right now, they're not going to come to it because they think jazz is old music. They think it's old people music. So you have to give them the same people they see. That's why they look at Soulja Boy. That's their image. They see Soulja Boy, they see Lil Weezy. That's their image. They look at Jay-Z. That's their image. They don't look at Wynton Marsalis, even though he's not that old in jazz years. But that's not their image. So until you get that image on the TV, on American Idol, until shows like that, they're not coming. Not only that, music also has to have a backbeat. If you want to bridge them in, get them in slowly, reel them in, you're going to have music with a backbeat on it. Like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, big band jazz that had backbeats in 2 and 4. So that was dance music at that time. So you're going to have to do that because this generation is used to 2 and 4. They dance on 2 and 4. So if you're playing avant-garde, they're not coming. So what has to happen is even if you have a rapper that raps over 2 and 4 music that's swinging, that at least gets them in. That at least gets them in because they want to hear 2 and 4. And then they have to be on award shows. They have to be, like the jazz category is not even shown on these award shows. The jazz categories, you don't see them on American Music Awards or Grammys. You don't see them. So you have to get them to see their images on the award shows, or else there's no reason for them to support it because they don't see it. You have to have serious music instruction back in schools. In other words, young potential musicians need to have serious experienced and real jazz instructors, not the marching band instructor, okay? The marching band instructor, unless he's playing gigs at night, has no business teaching jazz to the kids during the day. I'm just saying. So you have to have real teachers teaching real jazz cats. Okay, so, and then I already talked about the complexity.
Oh, wait. We have a lot of real jazz musicians teaching in these schools. I mean, Jackie Harris is running a camp that has some astounding jazz musicians teaching in schools.
Absolutely.
So that is happening. We have professionals who are teaching in the schools.
Absolutely.
There's no shortage of teaching professionals among great jazz musicians.
I disagree with that. When I was in high school, the marching band teacher was my jazz teacher. I'm telling you that on experience. So the kids who are fortunate to have teachers that are real jazz teachers and real jazz musicians, that's fantastic. But there's a lot of musicians, kids who want to learn, that really have people who are sitting in the classrooms that are really just overseeing the class. I know that because I went to McKinley Tech High School and I experienced that. Anyway, that's all I got.
Dr. Taylor, now as our senior member of our panel, you've done a lot of observing of the jazz audience. You've heard all these folks talk from different perspectives on teaching youngsters and on jazz audience aspects. As you've gone through your career of performing and of being an educator and of working in institutions like the Kennedy Center, as the years have developed, I needn't tell you that the African American audience for this music has dwindled. What perspectives do you have on bringing this music to the African American community and developing a more robust African American presence in the audience for this music?
One of the things that I learned when I first went into radio and television is that you have to give people some information so that they can take that and say, well, how do you play jazz? What should I look for? What should I listen for? One of the things that I found out on both radio and television is that people really listen to what you say and what you play. And so I tried to do both when I was doing, on those, either of those media. And one of the things that helped was the fact that when I grew up in Washington, D.C. here, I used to turn on the radio, just plain radio. And I heard everything that was available at that time. I heard jazz, I heard classical music, I heard folk music, I heard country and western, I heard all kinds of things on the same radio station. I didn't have to turn it somewhere else. You can't do that anymore. Everything is spread around, and what we have to look for now is where is it possible to hear some of the things that we've been talking about in this context. Well, one of the places is one of the things that you have to do is to be seen and heard at the moment, whether you're looking at Google or whether you're no matter where you're looking. If you're looking on a computer, you've got to find out what's going on. I had my 88th birthday this past year. I celebrated that by putting 88 things on my website. So all you have to do is look for Billy Taylor, and you get 88 different things that I did, which where I'm talking about jazz. I'm being interviewed by other people like Charles Corral, many other people, and same things I did on radio and television. I put them all in one place, so that if you can find that, you can find a whole bunch of the things that would answer the questions that we've been asked today. Now, the reason I did that was because I found that many people just didn't realize that you could do that. And when I asked around, I found that, well, sure, you can do something and people can hear, experience, and ask questions about the kind of music that we're presenting. And so I tried to use this as a well, sort of a come on, so that people would take a listen to me. Because what do they hear me doing there? They hear people like Larry and other people that have worked with me, and they are on those videos. They were on radio with me. They were on television with me. And I'm only one guy. So I mean, some other people have done this kind of thing. They're not getting the attention that they could be getting. But that's why I came up with the name, the 88 thing. So I said maybe I can entice them with numbers. But so many people that I've worked with understand that what you are listening to now is just a smattering of the kinds of things that that people are listening to all around the world. Jazz is much more popular. Any jazz musician will tell you that Japan, well, just name a place. Brazil, name a place. Those places, people are dying to hear the kind of music that we're throwing away in this country. And so, so what the answer for me is to try to get people who are here in this audience and in other audiences to realize that many of the things that are answerable questions are available. The answer is available to us, both in the kinds of presentations that you do in terms of the different kinds of a festival or other forms of presentation. The teachers, those of us who are teaching, find that something that I found out many years ago, right here in Washington D.C. When I was a kid, I was taken to hear. I feel that one of the things that made me go into radio and to go into all the things that I'm talking about was the curiosity. Well, hey, starting with Jelly Roll or anybody else, I wanted to know the answer to these things. I think everybody out here who's interested wants to know the answer. And if we can really point them in the right direction, that's being already, there are maybe 40 or 50,000 bands in schools in this country. That many, but we don't celebrate. You don't hear them. You don't know where to find them. You don't do it. We can help that. We can make them available. We can play them. We can do the things if we are really true to the fact that we are jazz fans.
Well, unfortunately, we've been given the high sign that it is about time to commence the music performances. But before we go, since all of you are involved in such wonderful and altruistic efforts, and since our audience has not had an opportunity to dialogue with you directly in this forum because of time constraints, I wonder if you would please give us information about how our audience can link up with your efforts and learn more about what you're doing and communicate with you, starting with Wayne.
Website, neajazzmasters.gov or Nea Jazz in the schools. Wayne Brown is my name. Katja von Schutenbach is our jazz administrator, and we'd love to hear from you to see how we can be helpful.
And that's arts.gov. Arts.gov.
Yeah.
Look that up online and you can find out about the Nea Jazz Masters program, which is a very important program that you can impact because Nea Jazz Masters are selected from you, the public's nominations. And you can nominate masters to be part of this program. Jackie, would you tell us how to communicate with the Louis Armstrong Jazz Camp?
The Jazz Camp's website is, it's a mouthful, www.louisarmstrongjazzcamp.com. It always takes place the first 3 weeks of July in New Orleans. We take resident students. Young people must be between the ages of 10 and 20 years old and must be actively involved in the music education program, either through school or private instruction.
Larry, please tell us how to reach the African American Jazz Caucus and how folks might assist you in better positively supporting the HBCU's jazz efforts and the HBCU All-Star Band that you've assembled.
2 email addresses that I would like to give you is my personal email address. If you would contact me at LHRIDLEY1937@gmail.com.
That's LHRIDLEY1937@gmail.com.
And they can go to our website, www.aajc.us, not .com, US. But I'd like to make one statement before we go. I know we're rushing. Warren, my brother, we need to talk about that business about the American Idol situation as far as jazz is concerned. A number of my colleagues we're in lockstep about this, that, American Idol, jazz is a music that requires a certain depth of training, and there are African American jazz educators who play the music and are out there. So we need to have further discussion. But American Idol.
Oh, now tell us, Warren, how to reach and be in touch with Shad Pianos.
Website is shadpianos.com. That's SHADDPIANOS.com. Also, email is warrenshad@shadpianos.com. That's WARRENSHADD at shadpianos.com. And also personal email addresses shadpianos@AOL.com.
And Dr. Taylor, that website with those 88 examples of your advocacy efforts down through the years and your playing, people can reach that website how?
Well, one of the things I found out as soon as I got a computer that I couldn't handle that. So, so I have a webmaster who will get back to you because I won't get back to you.
but they can reach those 88 examples. They can reach those 88 examples at BillyTaylor.com, right?
BillyTaylor.com.
BillyTaylor.com.
BillyTaylorJazz.com.
BillyTaylorJazz.com.
However,
and if you forget that, you can Google Billy Taylor.
However, there is a place closer to where we are, which is the Kennedy Center. And they have many of the things that I'm talking about that we've already done in our educational program there. And we have many things that are examples of what I've been talking about. And so I'm very proud of that. So check the Kennedy Center, and you'll find the answer to some of the things we were talking about also.
Well, we've done a lot of talking, and we've got some great music to come, but one of the main things that you can do as you go back home, as has been pointed out to me by a gentleman in the audience, not that I needed to be pointed out to, but one of the main things you can do is to play this music in your homes for your children. Indoctrinate your children in good music. Play jazz music in the home. Take your children to jazz festivals. Take your children out to hear this music. Expose your children to good music, please. And thank you for coming.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Sonny Sumter.
Good evening, everyone. This is really a magical evening. I'm not going to take up too much time, but I'd like to make a first public announcement. A press release went out on Monday. The Duke Ellington Jazz Festival, now in its 6th year, has renamed itself to be the DC Jazz Festival. We are so excited to be able to honor this great city, a city that I am a native of, and to really celebrate the great music of jazz right here in our nation's capital. We happen in June, 100 performances in nearly 47 venues, and we honor Congressman Conyers every year with an advocacy award that we give to someone that really champions jazz. And so in that spirit, I am really excited to be able to make that announcement right here in this room. We'll see everybody in June 3rd through the 13th, right here in the nation's capital. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sonny. And next we're going to hear from Dick Smith, who's going to tell you about a jazz festival free happening this Saturday that I hope you all will consider attending. Dick?
Thank you. Quick announcement. Thank you very much. Just want to let you know that this weekend we're having a jazz party and festival here in D.C. It's free. It's going to be, some of you, there should be announcements on the table. I don't have to go over it 1,000 times. And James is in the back with some flyers. But it's going to be a wonderful activity of D.C. musicians, and you can enjoy yourself from 12 to 8 o'clock at night Saturday. So they're available on the tables. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dick. I see Brent Glass here, who is the director of the National Museum of American History of the Smithsonian Institution. He and his museum are a great supporter of jazz. Brent Glass, thank you very much for coming. I see over there John Hassey, the curator of American music at the National Museum of American History. Thank you. They've got a great jazz program there. And we urge you to get to know them before they leave, and you can get there and see more jazz than you can probably stand. Now, without more, we're going to get to the music. I know that's what you've all been waiting for. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you the Louis Satchmo Armstrong Summer Jazz Camp All-Stars featuring Mr. Herlin Riley on drums.